What if true love isn't about finding the perfect person, but about understanding the hidden parts of yourself? What if the key to a lasting, fulfilling relationship lies not in changing your partner, but in uncovering the deepest layers of your own mind? This isn't just a philosophical idea. It's a psychological truth revealed by one of the most brilliant minds of the 20th century, Carl Jung. His groundbreaking work in analytical psychology uncovers the hidden forces that shape our relationships, and today, we're going to explore how his insights can transform the way you think about love. True love isn't just about chemistry or compatibility. It's deeply tied to self-awareness. The more you understand yourself, your fears, your desires, your shadows, the more capable you become of building a relationship that's not just passionate, but enduring. 1. The myth of the perfect partner. From the time we're children, we're fed the idea of the perfect partner. Fairy tales tell us that love is about finding our happily ever after, while movies and social media bombard us with images of flawless relationships. But here's the truth. This idealized version of love sets us up for disappointment. Because it's based on a myth that ignores the messy, beautiful complexity of real human connection. When we chase the idea of a perfect partner, we're not really looking for another person. We're searching for someone who can fill the gaps within ourselves, someone who can make us feel whole. But as Carl Jung would say, that's not love. That's projection. Jung introduced the concept of projection to explain how we unconsciously attribute our unmet needs, desires, and unresolved issues onto others. Think of it like this. When you meet someone who seems to embody everything you've ever wanted, it's often because you're seeing a reflection of your own unconscious desires, not who they truly are. For example, if you grew up feeling unheard, you might be drawn to someone who's a great listener. But here's the catch. You're not really seeing them. You're seeing the part of yourself that craves being heard. This creates an illusion of love, not a true connection. And when the illusion fades, as it always does, you're left wondering why the relationship feels empty or disappointing. Let me share a story to illustrate this. Imagine Sarah, a woman in her late 20s, who's always dreamed of finding a partner who's confident, outgoing, and adventurous, everything she feels she's not. She meets Alex, who seems to embody all these qualities. At first, it feels like a fairy tale. But over time, Sarah starts to feel insecure. She compares herself to Alex, wondering why she can't be as bold or spontaneous. What she doesn't realize is that she's projecting her own unmet desire for confidence onto him. Instead of working on her own self-esteem, she's relying on Alex to complete her. And when he inevitably falls short of her idealized image, the relationship begins to crumble. Sarah's story is a perfect example of how the myth of the perfect partner can lead us astray. It's not about finding someone who fits a checklist of qualities. It's about understanding why those qualities matter to us in the first place, and doing the inner work to cultivate them within ourselves. So, if projection is the problem, what's the solution? That's where Jung's concept of the shadow comes in, and trust me, it's a game changer. But we'll get to that in just a moment. 2. The shadow and relationships. If projection is the problem, then the shadow is the key to the solution. But what exactly is the shadow? According to Carl Jung, the shadow is the part of ourselves that we reject, deny, or hide, often because it doesn't align with the image we want to project to the world. It's the traits, desires, and emotions we're ashamed of or afraid to acknowledge. But here's the thing. The shadow doesn't go away just because we ignore it. Instead, it seeps into our relationships, shaping who we're attracted to and how we interact with others. Think of the shadow as the dark side of your personality, not in an evil sense, but in the sense that it's hidden from your conscious awareness. And because it's hidden, it often controls us in ways we don't even realize. For example, if you've been taught that anger is unacceptable, you might suppress it, only to find yourself drawn to people who express anger freely. Or if you've been praised for being nice and agreeable, you might bury your assertiveness, only to feel resentful when others don't respect your boundaries. This brings us to one of the most fascinating aspects of the shadow, attraction. Have you ever noticed how opposites often attract? A shy person might be drawn to someone outgoing, or a rule follower might fall for a free spirit. Jung would say this isn't a coincidence. We're often attracted to people who embody the qualities we've repressed in ourselves. It's as if our unconscious mind is trying to complete us by seeking out what we lack. Take Mark, for instance. He's quiet, introverted, and a bit of a perfectionist. He's always admired people who are spontaneous and carefree, so when he meets Lisa, who's the life of the party, he's instantly captivated. But over time, Mark starts to feel uncomfortable. Lisa's spontaneity feels chaotic to him, and her carefree attitude makes him anxious. What Mark doesn't realize is that he's not just attracted to Lisa, he's attracted to the part of himself that he's been suppressing. His shadow is calling out to him, asking to be acknowledged. This dynamic often leads to conflict, but here's the twist. Conflict isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, Jung believed that relationship conflicts are often a sign that our shadows are clashing. When we argue with our partner, it's usually because they're mirroring something we don't want to see in ourselves. Maybe their stubbornness triggers us because we refuse to admit our own stubborn streak. Or maybe their need for control frustrates us because we're secretly afraid of losing control ourselves. But here's the good news. These conflicts are opportunities for growth. When we're willing to look at what's being triggered in us, we can start to integrate our shadow. Instead of blaming our partner, we can ask ourselves, what is this conflict revealing about me? What part of myself am I being asked to confront? This is how relationships become a path to self-discovery, a journey toward wholeness. So, if the shadow is the hidden part of ourselves, what about the qualities we admire in others? That's where Jung's concepts of the Anima and Animus come in, and trust me, they're just as fascinating. Let's dive into that next. 3. The Anima and Animus. Now that we've explored the shadow, let's dive into another one of Jung's most fascinating concepts, the Anima and Animus. According to Jung, every man has an inner feminine aspect called the Anima, and every woman has an inner masculine aspect called the Animus. These archetypes live in our unconscious and play a powerful role in shaping our relationships. For men, the Anima represents qualities like intuition, emotion, and creativity, traits that society often labels as feminine. For women, the Animus represents qualities like logic, assertiveness, and independence, traits often labeled as masculine. Jung believed that these inner aspects are essential to our psychological balance. But here's the catch. If we don't acknowledge and integrate them, they can wreak havoc on our relationships. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine a man named John, who's been taught that real men don't cry. He suppresses his emotions, believing that vulnerability is a sign of weakness. But deep down, his anima, his inner feminine aspect, is yearning to be expressed. When John falls in love, he's drawn to a woman who's deeply in touch with her emotions. At first, he admires her ability to feel and express herself. But over time, her emotional openness starts to make him uncomfortable. Because it's mirroring the part of himself he's been denying. Now, consider a woman named Emily, who's been taught to be polite and accommodating. She struggles to assert herself, fearing she'll be seen as too aggressive. Her animus, her inner masculine aspect, is longing to be acknowledged. When Emily meets a confident, assertive partner, she's initially attracted to his strength. But as the relationship progresses, his assertiveness triggers her own insecurities about speaking up. What's really happening is that her animus is calling out to her, asking to be integrated. This is where the magic happens. True love isn't just about finding someone who complements us. It's about integrating these inner aspects within ourselves. For John, that might mean learning to embrace his emotional side, allowing himself to be vulnerable without fear of judgment. For Emily, it might mean stepping into her power, asserting her needs and desires with confidence. When we do this inner work, we become more whole, and our relationships become more balanced and fulfilling. So, how does this affect our relationships? When we integrate our anima or animus, we stop projecting our unmet needs onto our partner. Instead of expecting them to complete us, we take responsibility for our own wholeness. This creates a healthier dynamic where both partners can show up as their authentic selves. It's no longer about one person being the emotional one or the strong one. It's about both partners embracing the full spectrum of who they are, masculine and feminine, logical and emotional, strong and vulnerable. But how do we actually achieve this wholeness? That's where Jung's concept of individuation comes in, and it's the ultimate key to lasting love. Let's explore that next. For individuation and true love, we've talked about the shadow, the anima and animus, and how they shape our relationships. But how do we bring all of this together? That's where Jung's concept of individuation comes in. Individuation is the process of becoming your true, whole self, integrating all the parts of your psyche, both conscious and unconscious. It's about embracing your light and your shadow, your masculine and feminine aspects, and everything in between. And here's the beautiful part. Individuation isn't just the key to personal growth, it's the key to lasting love. When you commit to the journey of individuation, you stop looking for someone to complete you. Instead, you become complete within yourself. This doesn't mean you don't need relationships. It means you approach them from a place of wholeness rather than lack. And that's when true love becomes possible. Because true love isn't about two halves coming together to make a whole. It's about two whole people choosing to walk side by side, supporting each other's growth. Jung believed that relationships act as mirrors, reflecting back the parts of ourselves we need to work on. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how your partner's habits or traits seem to trigger you in ways no one else can? That's not an accident. It's your unconscious mind pointing you toward the areas where you need to grow. Maybe their stubbornness reflects your own resistance to change. Or maybe their emotional openness challenges you to be more vulnerable. These moments of friction aren't just obstacles, they're opportunities. True love requires self-awareness. It asks us to look inward, to confront the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore, and to take responsibility for our own healing. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Because when we do the work, our relationships become more than just a source of happiness. They become a path to becoming our best selves. So, how can you start this journey? Here are a few practical steps to get you started. Practice self-reflection. Set aside time each day to check in with yourself. Journaling, meditation, or simply sitting in silence can help you tune into your thoughts and emotions. Ask yourself, what is this relationship showing me about myself? Embrace your shadow. When you notice something in your partner that triggers you, pause and ask, is this a reflection of something I've been avoiding in myself? Instead of blaming them, use the moment as an opportunity to explore your own inner world. Work on integrating your anima/animus. If you're a man, explore your emotional, creative side. If you're a woman, step into your power and assertiveness. Embrace the qualities you admire in others and make them your own. See relationships as opportunities for growth. Shift your mindset from, what can this person give me? To, what can this relationship teach me? When you approach love as a journey of mutual growth, you'll find deeper connection and fulfillment. Individuation is a lifelong journey, but it's one of the most rewarding things you'll ever do. And when you approach love from this place of wholeness, you'll discover that true love isn't just about finding the right person, it's about becoming the right person. In our final thoughts, we'll tie all of this together and leave you with one powerful idea to take with you. The thread running through all of these ideas is simple but profound. True love starts with understanding yourself. It's about doing the inner work, facing your shadows, integrating your anima or animus, and committing to your own growth. When you do this, you stop looking for someone to complete you. Instead, you become the kind of person who can build a relationship that's not just passionate, but deeply fulfilling and enduring. If today's video resonated with you, I encourage you to take the next step. Spend some time reflecting on your own relationships. Ask yourself, what patterns keep showing up? What parts of myself am I being called to explore? And if you're ready to dive deeper, I highly recommend reading Jung's works, like The Psychology of the Unconscious or Modern Man in Search of a Soul. These books offer incredible insights into the human psyche and the journey of self-discovery. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one of my favorite quotes from Jung. He said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." This is the essence of true love. Not just finding someone who makes you happy, but finding someone who helps you grow, who challenges you to become the best version of yourself. And that journey begins with you. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. And as always, let me know in the comments, what part of Jung's ideas resonated with you the most? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and remember, the journey to true love starts within. See you next time.